Greetings, Amy. How are you? Not too bad. Still without power. Wondering if the judge had an opportunity to review.
He looked at it, but it doesn't meet Supreme Court rules of proceedings.
Okay. Does she have a suggestion in order to meet the criteria of the Supreme Court rules of proceedings? And by that, does she mean the Supreme Court
Nebraska.
of Nebraska? Okay.
So pleading, she referred to 6-1110.
Okay. When operating in equity, and I know I'm just advising, the statutes, codes, city ordinances, and provisions don't necessarily apply in an equitable matter. Statutes, codes, city ordinances, and provisions actually apply to public officials and employees. And so I was wondering if you might ask her for some clarification on how those statutes, codes, city ordinances, and provisions apply to me per se, and assist.
Because she's the judge, she can't advise you.
No. I'm just asking. I'm asking you if you can ask her how the city ordinances, statutes, codes apply to me as a man in a time of crisis seeking justice. So
You have to do that research yourself.
I'll go look up what 6-1110 is, but if you wouldn't mind, as her clerk, asking her how the statutes, city ordinances, and codes apply to Derek Gonzalez specifically.
You're asking her to make a decision.
Would it be better?
Something that she's not a party to.
Would it be better to put it in writing and submit it to the clerk? Okay, I can do that for you, Amy.
Yeah, or talk to an attorney.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got
she can't-
the attorneys are why we're in this situation now, because they seem to be absconding from the fact that we're in a national emergency.
Because she has to stay neutral because she is the judge.
I understand she has to stay neutral. I completely
She can't
concur with
answer
that.
questions from one side or the other, unless it's an open court, where all the parties are.
Sure. The problem with that answer is the fact that I have a note here issued from Karen Lynn Noakes referring to 6-11110, or excuse me, 6-1110. So the question then becomes, if she can't advise me on one issue, but she's advised me on another, now I just need clarification on how those statutes,
That's
codes,
not
and
a note to you. That was a note I made to myself to
Okay.
refer to that statute.
Okay, so who informed you of this statute?
That's not important.
That's not important.
The
Who
county attorney.
did the judge advise you of this statute, 6-1110? You talked to Steve. Okay, I'll go talk to.
She told me to look at that.
She told you to look at this. Okay, so she did advise you.
I told her that I told you I couldn't file it
Sure.
because it didn't meet.
Okay, so the reason that you can't file this is for financial relief, correct? It's
that,
a
and
financial
not a proper
issue.
pleading.
Okay, and equity disregards all form in the interest of justice because it's about the subject or the substance.
I have no
No problem. I'm just advising you. I have a
I
duty.
don't need your advice. I can only do what I can do in my job.
Okay, right. I'm just putting you on notice that equity disregards form. So not advice, just notice.
Are you filming this? Are
I
you?
absolutely have to. I mean, I got to hold my public officials accountable. I apologize if you're insulted by
That
that.
part is, Derek. I try to help you, and then you
You're-
turn on me.
I'm not turning on you. You're absolutely
But you're
wonderful,
trying to-
and your attitude
You're
has
trying to
been.
put me in a corner.
No, I'm just holding
I'm
my
not
public
an
officials
attorney. I
accountable.
cannot
I know
give
you're
you
not. I'm not
advice.
asking for legal advice. Amy, you've been fantastic. You've been absolutely professional. I'm just doing this for the people. God's people expect performance from our public officials in an honest, integrate manner. You've been doing fantastic. Please don't let it be because the phone is running and we're live streaming that you get unprofessional. I appreciate your professionalism, and I know that we can work together to resolve this issue in time of national crisis. I cannot be the only one without electricity right now, which means that other people are not
You're telling me all
sanitary.
these things, and I can't do anything about
I
it.
just have to put you on notice. It's my duty. It's my obligation to say, okay, when we're looking at this matter, I need to know that you comprehend that, or at least that I had notified you that 61110, although people are claiming that it applies to me as a man in a time of national emergency, I need whoever stated that fact to show how statute 61110 applies to me and how they justify.
It applies to everybody filing anything within the court system.
Okay, so again,
And so
in
it's a court rule
61110,
proceeding.
61110 is about a financial
I don't know what it is.
wherewithal. Okay. Well,
I don't even know if I have that book.
no, you don't have to look that up for me, Amy. I'm trying to do the right thing for the American people, for myself, and for all people, because in a time of national crisis, it's just rather unnerving to know that the only thing that the judiciary seems to care about is financial wherewithal and not the best for people's health, because it puts the community at risk. Jason White is putting the community at risk by shutting off people's electricity in their time of need. And that's dangerous and it's scary. And it reduces our faith in government and our public officials and trustees, which is seditious in nature and insurrection. In a time of national crisis when we're supposed to be pulling together, it seems that some public officials would opt to go the other route. And that disturbs me because it's scary. If I'm being treated like this in 30 more...
They are just doing business as usual.
Business as usual. Exactly. And this is an equitable claim, and equity, not necessarily business. No worries. It's okay, Amy, but thank you. I just wanted to let you know, and I appreciate it, and thank you for your time. I'll go talk to Steve and see what he can come up with. So, and again, I meant no disrespect.
A lot more about that stuff.
You bet. And I meant no disrespect by anything in here, including live streaming. It's just quintessential that we, the American people, hold our public officials accountable. So,
And I don't.
no worries. It needs...
But you're almost insinuating that I'm not honest and work with integrity.
No. I apologize if you took it that way. The inference in the suggestion that Karen Lynn Noakes has made this assessment and relayed it through you to give this message to me shows me that if she did in fact do that, and you're affirming that, then...
She referred me to the county attorney.
She referred you to the county attorney, and he told you about 61110.
He works on behalf of the elected officials.
Okay, so he's the one that referred you to 61110, correct?
No, Judge Noakes did.
Judge Noakes did. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate it. All right. Well, so the judge has given me this. Now, I'm going to read these documents to you because they're heavy-hitting, very powerful. I guess there is really no need to visit with Steve at this point. I don't have the rest of my... Steve would be the district attorney. I don't have the rest of my documents finished at this point. Let's go see if what else we can do here. Okay. Thank you, Amy. All right. So that's the district county clerk, and I'm not 100% sure at this point, so I can't speak with certainty, but I am going to bet you, and this is a note Amy did affirm, the judge was the one, Karen Lynn Noakes, who advised her to inform me of 6-1110 of the Supreme Court of Nebraska, and I will bet you money, I'll bet you FRN notes, I'll bet you a letter of credit that that 6-1110 is based upon financial gain because, as the clerk of the court stated, Derek, we're just doing business. Well, I thought they were in the business of administering justice. And I don't want anybody to misconstrue this in any way, shape, or form. But the facts are what they are. You know, if justice comes at a fee, how do the homeless seek justice and remedy for things that have transpired and happened to them by public officials? Are they barred from the court? Is this a denial of due process of law? Becomes the question. How many other people don't have sufficient funds and thus can't seek justice in a judicial center that costs $4.5 million? And I'm sure the justification of building this building was in the interest of justice. And as we know, justice is invaluable, okay? It doesn't have a price. And so inequity by nature, one should be able to come to a chancellor in a chancery setting or a alleged judge. But it would appear to me that if you don't have financial wherewithal, the only ones that get an opportunity to file a free claim are city police and the sheriff's department. And that is not equal protection of the law. That's a direct violation of due process of law. To say that one has to issue a fee in order to review a case in a national emergency seems to be a travesty. My fear is I've got enough knowledge and common sense to go file forms and documents where needed to get the proper response. How many of the other American people don't comprehend how to do this? Now they're saying that I'm doing it incorrectly, and I may be not doing it as a usual form of business in their arena, but it's in the interest of justice. It's not in the interest of self-gain, okay? This is about health and welfare during a national crisis. So let me go ahead and read this to you real quick, what I wrote the judge, and she has been advised of it, and she has reviewed it, according to the clerk of the court. In the District Court of Custer County comes now Gonzalez Derek Chaton in a motion for emergency relief, whereas one would pray for relief in the form of restored utilities, electric, as per the best interest of public safety as we, the American people, combat coronavirus 19. By staying clean, hot showers, self-quarantining, public distancing, and ample food. After getting prepared, one has found himself to be in a state of impecuniosity in this declared national emergency. In good faith, which is an equitable term, it is my wish to have the electrical utilities reconnected. And then I give the address. And I'm just a simple man, because law is simple. It's simple to follow. So do unto others as you would have done to you. Now, the next part that I handed the judge was a separate petition that I've actually handed to the sheriff's department, and they are currently actively investigating this. Petition for an information review and determination made by those with authority to make such determinations on the legality and lawfulness of the acts and actions done by public trustees, City Attorney, Ansley, Nebraska, Jason White, Mayor Trent Fecht, Lynette, City Manager, Public Power. Due to my state of impecuniosity, I am unable to pay the electric bill due to finance and business has dropped off. Per the facts, I am unable to pay contributions to the electric company in Ansley, Nebraska. The city officials of Ansley, Nebraska refuse to leave the electricity on in a time of national emergency. Equity sees that no man, woman, or child shall be left destitute by the public trustees due to their state of impecuniosity during a national emergency. Under the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump, President for the United States, no one's power is to be terminated, nor any other utilities of essential needs to be disrupted. The electricity to the address was disconnected by authorization of Jason White, Trent Fecht, and Lynette. Pete Ricketts' verbal order on March 20, 2020, stated the following on TV: "No one's power would be disrupted during the national emergency, irrespective of their ability to pay. To help combat the coronavirus 19, I have made a choice to self-quarantine as advised. I, Gonzales Derek Chaton, have contacted the Governor Pete Ricketts for the state of Nebraska to advise him of the breach of the trust during this national emergency. The electricity was turned off at around 1 o'clock p.m. or 1300 hours on Tuesday, March 24th, Central Time. The agents and agencies stated and made a claim to have discretion which appears to violate both the spirit and the letter of public policy. In this time of national emergency, it has been advised to stay clean, consume fresh water, and stock up on essential needs, food. The trustees of Ansley, Nebraska's acts and actions violate public policy during a national emergency. I, Gonzales Derek Chaton, am petitioning for an information review and a determination made by those with authority to make such determinations on the legality and lawfulness regarding the acts and actions done by the acting trustees Jason White, Trent Fecht, and Lynette. These statements are true and correct, for my yes be yes and my no be no. So saith Gonzales Derek Chaton, under the pains and penalties of perjury and the eternal damnation of one's soul." And then, of course, my phone number and everything else. Now, these are the documents, allegedly, which I got this information secondhand, so there's still plausible deniability because Amy didn't watch her read these. But according to Amy, she did review these. So Amy has stated to me that she has reviewed them. Remember, Amy at one point told me that the judge did not give her this information and then did give her this information and then questioned me on the fact that I was questioning her integrity, which is a little disturbing. That's the doublespeak that I talk about, ladies and gentlemen, because it is a business. I believe Amy's got a good heart. I can see it in her eyes. She wants to do the right thing, but she's got somebody that lords over her at the end of the day, possibly Mike Havocan, who's in control of all the court systems. Who's in control of all the courts in Nebraska, Mike Havocan. And what's interesting is, as I studied Dunn's numbers, they all directly link back to Mike Havocan through DHHS, which is really, really interesting to say the least. So, ladies and gentlemen, if a man is destitute, what I just found out today through the acts and actions of certain public officials and the Judicial Center in Broken Bow, Nebraska, is if you are destitute, don't come to them. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in helping their fellow man. They're not interested in the difference between right and wrong unless you have fiat. Now, at the Judicial Center, what's interesting about this is the district court judge is responsible for administering the bankruptcy that we've been in since 1933. She has common knowledge through her extensive studies that everybody is in a state of impecuniosity at best, and at worst, a pauper, meaning having no value at all and having no wherewithal. So the question then becomes, how do the homeless people get resolved? How do the people who are impoverished get an answer when they don't have a nickel to their name to file a case? Okay, so this is why we're writing the letter to the Provost Marshal. I didn't expect this. I figured that equity would kick in, good common sense about wanting to protect the public at large within the community by making sure people had hot showers and stuff. The next question becomes, how many people in Broken Bow right now and Ansley are without electrical power because of their inability to pay during a national crisis? This seems to be a real issue. This seems to be one that should cause everybody within the community's great concern. By not being cleanly, we're openly inviting people to get sick by a weakened immune system. The weather, of course, today is 32 degrees. No power still, which means the power is off. Now I'm going to go back to Ansley and attempt to talk to Trent Fecht, the mayor. I want to talk to the attorney, Jason White. I know there's a lot of disdain for me in the legal community per se because of what I do. But it doesn't matter your great disdain for me or not. At this point, it's a matter of right and wrong and protecting the people of the community by making sure everybody is capable of being clean, taking a shower, washing themselves, washing their hands. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, in my self-quarantine and isolation, I am not able to do so. Now, I have contacted the governor. I put him on notice yesterday that if somebody dies, there's an inherent risk that somebody could die due to the fact that you're shutting off people's power, or the trustees down here are shutting off people's power, and there's no way of them knowing whether or not these people are on BiPAP machines, nebulizers, ventilators, in their own homes, which comes at a real inherent risk and removes qualified immunity from anybody who would allege the protection of qualified immunity. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to strip them all of their qualified immunity in the event that somebody dies to their gross negligence and ignorance. And then once I have completed that, I'm going to show somebody how to regain their qualified immunity by sending it up the chain of command and getting it to the provost marshal and alleviating them of the burden of no longer having qualified immunity. So now I'm going to give it to another official because they have the authority to make sure it gets up chain of command, ladies and gentlemen. You can remember there was a time where I was so belligerent, hell, I couldn't handle myself. Looking back at the videos, I was really disgusted with the way that I acted and treated people. And you can see that my heart is filled with joy that I no longer can treat people in that manner. Because what ends up boiling down is when you conduct yourself sensibly, respectably, and you handle these affairs properly, the agents and agency will show you their true colors, okay? Whether they feel they have to act a certain way because their job performance is expected in such a manner, whether they choose to be deceiving for favoritism from their superiors, or whether they're interested in justice, working in a judicial center and really fighting for the people and justice more than anything. Equality, remember, equal protection under the law. So it's been exhibited today that absent of fiat, and I'm just speculating, I'm not 100% sure, that 6-1110 of the Nebraska Supreme Court doesn't apply to something else. I'm speculating that it applies to financial wherewithal. So don't be appalled when I get back on here in a little bit after researching this and find out that that's exactly what it pertains to, because I highly doubt that we were looking at the form. And I could be wrong. So again, we're speculating. Amy did say, yes, I do believe that it pertains to financial wherewithal, but I have not affirmed that yet. So again, it's just hearsay, and it was her belief at 6-11-10 that is what it is. And belief, again, is a lack of knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll take that for face value. And I want to believe these people are doing things in good faith. But I'm failing to see that at this point in the time of a national pandemic crisis. And there's really two national emergencies going on. The banking emergency that's signed every year by an executive order, and now the pandemic, which the governor has stated is a state emergency, and the president has announced that it's a national emergency. So thank you very much for your time. I'll be talking to you guys real soon. Thanks for all your support. I appreciate your offer to pay the electric bill. And again, I had a guy get a hold of me last night. Save your wherewithal, ladies and gentlemen. In 29, the government did some sinister stuff to the American people, all right? And they weren't able to protect them like they said they were. Just like a cop isn't able to protect you and stay with you all day long. I'm sure they would if they could. They can't. That's the bottom line. They can't. And because of that, we're expected to conduct ourselves under God's law and love our neighbor, take care of our fellow man and our brother. So I appreciate all the outreach, but we're missing the principle here. I'm trying to show the American people that you can't get justice in this country unless you have what they want, which is financial wherewithal. Could I write a bond? You bet I can. But did they ask me to write a bond? No, they did not. Can I write an IBOE? Yes, I can. I know exactly how to write an IBOE. I know exactly what to do with the stamp and everything else. Not a problem. I'll gladly give you that. What the city is asking for, or the city attorney is asking for, a form of payment. The FRN note, ladies and gentlemen, is in fact a promise to pay in the future. It is not a form of payment, all right? It's a promise to pay. So technically, I can go to Lynette and offer her a promise to pay in the future, and if she refuses, then refusal of payment liberates the alleged debtor, okay? It's like this. If a kid mows my yard and I'm going to give him $60, he goes, no, sir, that's too much. You know what? I just did this one for, it's a freebie. It's yours. And a week later, he decides he's got a hot date and he really needs some money. And he comes back to try and strong arm me and say, you know, you owe me some money. Actually, I don't. I offered a tender of payment to you and you refused. And because you refused, you liberated me from any obligation that I may have had in the past. Okay? So, thank you for joining me. I'm trying to be as civil as possible and good-natured because it's important to exhibit. Well, let's just put it like this. It's important to walk the path of Jesus, ladies and gentlemen. The man was crucified. Let me show you how beautiful Jesus Christ was real quick. Well, I got a moment. Jesus Christ was bearing witness to a woman who was going to be stoned to death in the middle of town. And he said, let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. The interesting thing about that statement is nobody around Jesus Christ could throw a stone because they had all sinned, for we are all sinners. But the other interesting fact about it was that Jesus was the only one that could have cast a stone because he was free of sin. He was pure. And yet he opted not to pick up a stone. Isn't that interesting? And yet, instead, he chose to die for each and every one of us sinners. You want to talk about the mercy of God. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How powerful that is. When you have faith, when you know the written word of God. I can't stress it to you enough how important it is to be next to God and not acting in inequity, but rather acting equitable by nature, with the good spirit of God in you, speaking the truth and being humble and paying attention, being observant, okay? I'm not out there trying to bash these people. I'm out there showing you their inequities that they continue to do for financial gain and unjust enrichment, which subverts from the very nature of their alleged business, which is justice. Okay, so I'm going to get back to writing my writ. Day 2, no shower, kind of getting scuzzy. That's nasty. I'll take a cold shower today. I've taken colder showers in prison, so I'm sure it won't be too bad. But anyway, love, light, peace, and happiness. I'm going to continue to expose the inequities exhibited by the acts and actions of our public officials who are trustees administering a national bankruptcy and are supposed to be making sure that people have what they need when they need it. And remember, there's a difference between need and want, ladies and gentlemen. Something of a vital nature is needed for life. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I really, really, really appreciate you. And we'll talk to you guys soon.